Our Wilshire moments are more in the community category. And the first one I wanted to share about is our death and dying dinners that Lorena mentioned a little bit earlier. Our first case manager became a part-time per diem nurse because she was so passionate about her work outside of hospice about death and dying. And she started on her own to host these death and dying dinner parties for 12 people where people bring a dish and then there's no alcohol allowed, and she facilitates the conversation, and people actually end up sitting talking about death and dying and their relationship to it, and some people share about the near-death experiences they've had themselves, and they're just really inspiring conversations. And after a year of her doing it on her own, Lorena said, how can we collaborate on this? And so now we host these dinners once a month, and they're always sold out. And people donate to us, and they're in our conference room, and they're beautiful dinners. And it used to be Laurel's friends, and then it became friends of friends, and now it's become this thing where we have random people contact us that they've read about it in the press, and it's becoming like a true community thing. And at the last dinner we had a 16-year-old participate, so it's really inspiring. And I hope that that's going to spread up here. I know Laurel wants to spread it out and go train people in how to facilitate them. So that's the first one. And the second one is about a bereavement group that we host once a week. And we have a volunteer, Diane, who's a wonderful person, of course. And then she's also trained in grief counseling, and she decided she would like to participate in our bereavement groups and potentially take them over. Is that correct? And so she participated one time, and the next day she sent an email to Lorena and Leslie, our other social worker, this beautiful letter describing how touched she was by our social worker and the way she led the group and the contribution that group is to the participants. And it was a very eloquent letter, and unfortunately I don't have it with me because it's in the email archiver, GFI thing. That's just a poor excuse, but oh, there was a meeting? It's in the archiver. And the last moment was our marketing team and Andrea went over to Olympia Hospital, which is a hospital we're trying to forge a relationship with so we can get referrals from them. And they walk into the room to meet several of their staff members, and there's a social worker there, and she says, oh, hospice partners, we really want to work with you. My mom was in a nursing home, and I really wanted her to come on hospice, and your social worker came out. And my mom was not able to get on hospice services, but the way that she counseled me and comforted me, I'll never forget it. It made that experience so much more positive for me. And it was just, and it had been a long time ago, but she still remembered it instantly. And it was someone, Barbara didn't know she was a social worker for a hospital. She just showed up the way she shows up. And I think it's moments like that where we're not aware how we affect people that are not showing up on our senses. So that's it.
I want to read you two different little bits from our comments that we get from patient satisfaction surveys that really show a lot about how we care for the community, basically. And this is one of them. This is one of my favorites. They were the best in every stage. It made all the difference in how we were able to get through it. I really felt we were not alone, so I wasn't frightened or unsure as I would have been without them. I'm trying to put into words the gratitude I feel for the many hours your team stood by John, and I thought his declining months. I look back and wonder what I would have done without your support, and I cringe to think of it. And then it talks about some of our nurses. Rebecca, you were the strength and wisdom that was crucial for us to face this journey at home. You were always right there to help and guide us, and I'll never forget the effort you and your team made to get John into the hospice facility in such a short time that night he took the turn down. Our shower aids were a blessing that ended an ongoing battle of how often a shower was needed. John responded well to them, and I was able to relax about his cleanliness. You all had a way of knowing just how to converse with him, mainly talking about the Army, anything military, or history related, and he looked forward to your visits. That was huge. And last but certainly not least was our caseworker, Susan. You maintained my mental well-being and were wonderful listening to me air my concerns and frustrations. Your wise advice was very welcome, and your patience with John was incredible. I've mentioned the hospice team members that we got to know over the 8 months you were with us, but to all the rest of the team that helped along the way, you are all truly angels, and I say thank you and bless you. So that's just one example of the comments that we get, and I want to read another little bit before I have Claire come up. People ask us, what exactly does hospice do? We have trouble explaining it because words are so inadequate compared to the wonderful, compassionate, kind, and respectful service you all provide. You bring comfort and you provide dignity, two vital, life-altering gifts. My dad, a man who gave and served, lifted and built all his life, hated being broken and vulnerable. We are so very much appreciated the way you treated him and how you said, it's your decision, when choices arose. This was a grand display of respect for a man who deserved that respect in every way. Thank you. We had heard stories of pushiness, condensation, and superiority, so we're a bit nervous as far as hospice. However, we saw none of that and only what we wrote above. So obviously, the message sometimes in the community is a little different than what the actual experiences are, and it's good to have these. Just one last quick one, because it really hits home too as far as the patients who are on hospice, is that we really are about the goals that the patient and family have. And we had a patient not too long ago who was on our service and has died since then, who had a goal of, I believe, and I wasn't involved in the case, but kind of planning a surprise for his wife to renew their vows and do a trip. And we were able to, through our team efforts, have the spiritual counselor perform a renewal of vows with a certificate and everything. And this was all a surprise to the wife, by the way. And through the social worker and the Dream Foundation, able to get the funding for him to go on a trip to Yosemite with his wife. So those kinds of things are the moments that we live for and work for. Thank you.